Got to put a smile on. Good morning, everybody. It's the Prairie Banana here with TGXen, and we are going to walk through the weekly stats. So this is the fourth week, and we have been building it a little bit. When I was putting the stats in this morning, I did make some adjustments, but not near as much as last week. And then TGXen offered to show up today. So we have him here. How are you doing?
What's up? Yeah, I've been wanting to do this every Saturday, and I just wanted to kind of hop on one of these at least and just go through the stats with you.
Cool. Yes, and I have invited his commentary because he is also a bit of a data head and is familiar with spreadsheets and such. And so, boy, is anybody going to show up? I guess there are two people here. That's good. And just a heads up. So my initial plan, before we get into the sheet and such, my initial plan was to, do this for a few weeks and no commitment. And it does take quite a bit of time. And there are some aggregator sites that should be able to do, a lot of what I'm doing manually. So, hey, Revo, how's it going? And so once those come online, I'm probably done, maybe do some minimal tracking. But the plan was to do a few weeks so we could get a basic understanding of what we're seeing from week to week. And then we will go to monthly or maybe even quarterly. So I'm not going to be doing this next week. Actually, next week, I'm planning to have a class for new people. Lots of new people in the chat. And I'm going to do from a 1,000 foot view down to as micro as Prairie Banana can handle. And we'll just do it like a 1 hour or so class Saturday. And then in April, definitely I'm going to be looking at, we'll aggregate this data and then do another presentation on what we have seen for changes in the month of March. So that's the plan going forward. Right. Well, do I call you TGXen?
You can call me TGXen. I just recently switched my handle just because I thought it was more appropriate for me to switch to 369, but most people know me as TGXen for sure.
I see. Okay, because I see your screen name is different than what I want, and I'm like, okay, TGXen. I'll get used to it. And it won't take as long as figuring out how to say pTGC. That took me probably a week and a half. That's tough.
Yeah, they all end with E's, so you have to get used to 4 E's in a row.
All right. Well, we're going to start with we're just going to present the sheet. And by the way, guys, this sheet, there's a link to it in the description of the video. You can download this. We'll cover some of these other tabs over on the right just briefly at the end of this. But there's a link to this. You can download it and make your own. There's no need to have editor credentials. All right, guys. I think everybody should be able to see this clearly. So you see we have 4 weeks here. And I'm just going to kind of review this week compared to last week. So stakers, we are up 170 stakers. Whereas last week we were up 86. And it's really no wonder because we had a lot of activity in the system this week with the pump. And look at the number of holders. We increased. TGXen, was that the biggest increase in 1 week in holders?
Besides
over 1,000.
Besides the first maybe week or so, I'd say that's the second biggest. But I believe we did hit the biggest day of volume or just at it this week too, which is awesome as well, because that just the most amount of value paid out in rewards, the most amount of value sent to the LP, and the most amount of value burned, and the most amount of value going to the DAO.
Okay.
So that was something I was definitely excited to see, is just a really, really high volume day, and the reaction that everyone gets when that volume is at that high, because obviously they're making more APR.
Yes.
So that kind of like is, in my opinion, like a goal. Like I want the project to eventually get to those volume levels on a daily basis, and then not only a goal, but like almost like a sneak peek of when Pulse Chain gets more adoption, as we get more adoption, like those are the daily numbers that we hope to be doing plus more. So those like reward and reflection numbers can become a daily thing and not like a thing once a week or a thing once a month when we have those spike volume days. I want those to be like the regular.
So, I'm trying to understand what you're saying about the volume. I mean, I think what you're referring to is like when I have a big wave of reflections in my wallet, I got to compound it. You know, if it's just like a normal day, I might let it go for a few days. But if it's a big influx, man, I throw it back into the furnace. Is that kind of what you're referring to?
Yeah, of course, compounding it when it hits like that certain number amount you're looking for.
Sure.
If it's obviously a slow day, I usually wait a couple days to compound just so I'm not wasting gas and stuff like that. But um, overall, compounding it is very important. But more what I was talking about is just since we pay rewards based out on volume, when we have high volume days, that's like a sneak peek of what rewards are going to be like when we actually have more users on Pulse Chain.
Right. Gotcha.
Right now, I still like to compare us to being a business built in a city with not a lot of people yet. But once this city that we're in becomes the poppin' new city, then we have unlimited amounts of people to add into that volume.
Yeah. Yes. Agreed. These holders right here, these guys.
Yeah.
And just so you know, guys, this value here is derived from these two. Okay. So, and then Telegram members, we added 121 Telegram members this week compared to 64 last week. Twitter, we added 102 versus 31 last week. TGXen, do you know why we went up 750 the week of February 17th? Any idea?
Not in particularly. I would just guess we probably had a tweet that just went at least a little bit viral or something like that, where we got a lot of eyes on it. I'd have to go back into that and see, but that's definitely a lot for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd just like to see that happen again. The eligibility minimum to submit proposals is something I like to track because, you know, one day I'd like to be able to submit proposals. And somebody after last week told me where I can find the actual number because I'm not hitting it. I mean, this number should go down from week to week, I would think. Can you walk me through, if you know, where to find that minimum eligibility number?
Yeah, so when you hit create a proposal on the DAO page, at the bottom, it takes a little bit to pull up just because it's looking up this data on the blockchain constantly. And then you scroll down from there.
Right.
And it's going to pull up there eventually after it looks up all the data from the blockchain. It's just figuring it out right now.
Okay.
But yes, technically, as time goes on, it should become lower numbers amounts, because ultimately what genuinely happens in crypto is larger holders eventually start taking profits and selling off positions of their bags, and then that money gets spread out amongst more people. And
Right.
this isn't actually a bad thing, even though sometimes people think whale selling is a bad thing. It's sometimes a good thing in the case of getting new people in is very important. And it's actually, in my opinion, one of the most important things of crypto, because now you have more people to educate more people. And it's
Right.
it's like compounding. It's two people educate two people, then those two people educate four people, and those four people educate eight people, and that's how that spreads so rapidly. So over time, it will definitely get, I wouldn't say easier to get into the top 100, because I believe pTGC will be worth more. So it will take more money, but you'll need less tokens. But if you
Okay.
have tokens already and you plan on compounding for, the next 6 months, year, obviously you don't need to buy more, and you're going to be moving up in the ranks because you will be receiving more pTGC every day.
Right. Okay. So last week I copied this number off of here. I went to, I followed this process, and that's how I got a 300 something million number. Now we see it 252. Do you think this 252 is the accurate number?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, I'm going to pop that in here. All right. All right, cool. Hey guys, if you have any questions, just pop them in the chat and we'll try to address them. Next tab is supply. And I had to put some black lines to make these distinguishable, because this is, let me make sure I'm right here. This is last week. And let me scroll over here to the left. Last week, this week. I don't care to put these on two different lines because it kind of messes with your head when you're trying to compare this week with last week. But if anybody has a suggestion for how to arrange this, let me know. But we'll just walk through this. So the stake from the site, there was really no change. Burn supply, there was a change from 36.2 to 36.3. What I call real supply, which is circulating supply minus the stake supply, is was reduced by 1.5 million. Do you have any thoughts on this, TGXen?
Yeah, so we've actually played around with that a little bit on what our circulating supply is, because obviously we have the debt address, which obviously isn't circulating. And then we have the people who have locked for the minimum of 90 days. And then we have the people who are staked. And then we have our average holders, and then we have the tokens that are stuck in LP at the moment. So we have to look at, obviously, if you're someone who decided to stake, you have a little bit of a more long-term mindset than just an average holder. And then if you have made the decision to lock, you have even a longer term mindset than just a staker. So I do consider it all circulating supply, but I do think you can consider portions of those just not going to sell. Like I personally know quite a bit of people in pTGC that just literally are unwilling to sell their pTGC tokens. They look at it like it's like earning property on the boardwalk of Huntington Beach or something like that. And they're just like, dude, I'm just going to hold this for the next 100 years, get the passive income from it, compound for the next 2 years. And after that, there's going to be only so many tokens in existence, even circulating. And I'll get APR from it every single day. And there's just, because the web's not going anywhere. So you can guarantee the LP is going to continue to grow. The web's going to do its thing. It's just, it's pretty much in a form of real estate on the pulse chain blockchain. Obviously not like land, but as far as value.
Right. I totally agree. This is valuable stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yes. So I think when people look for a dip, the reason, like, obviously there will be dips. Like, I not telling people there's not going to be dips, because there will be. When people get in profit, they take profits. But there's a good amount of people in pTGC that are well educated on the machine that just aren't willing to sell. And I believe it's more people than people think.
Okay.
Like, aren't
It's good
willing
to
to
get.
sell ever. Like they just are just holding this machine, and like what they have staked and locked, I strongly believe just are never gonna leave. And when they do decide to take profits, because everyone obviously is in this game to take profits, I strongly believe these people are just gonna do it off of rewards.
Yeah, that's my intention.
And then if you think about this, I've structured the reward system to where there's always going to be more PLS going into the LP pool than rewards paid out. So even if every single person constantly cashed out every single reward, there's always a 3% that's backing the value of pTGC, while 2% is getting paid out in rewards. So there's always an ethical reward being paid out by a backed PLS going into the LP pool constantly.
Okay. I didn't quite follow all of that. I'll just replay it later.
Yeah,
But
so
it sounded
I'll explain it real
valuable.
quick. So on every
Sure.
trade, there's a 5% fee, right?
Yep.
And 2% of that fee goes to rewards, to stakers and holders.
Yep.
And 3% of it goes to the DAO that does LP ads and buy and burns. And then the other 1% goes to buy and burns and LP ads. So if you think about it,
2% goes to the DAO, right?
yeah, sorry. Yeah, 2% goes to the DAO, and technically 0.5 goes to burns and 0.5 goes to LP ads. So mostly always, like, obviously there's going to be cases in the future where that DAO pays for a couple different things, I would assume, just based on how people vote. But the narrative is there that DAO mostly does LP ads and buy and burns. So if you think about it, on every single transaction, 3% of it is adding to LP, because a buy and burn is technically just an add to LP. And 2% of it is paying rewards. So even if every reward got cashed out into the LP pool, the LP would be constantly filled with an additional 1% every single time.
Yep. Wow. That's powerful.
Yeah, so there's never going to be a reward that's paid out that isn't pretty much backed by more PLS going into that LP pool. So it can't ever hurt the chart necessarily, unless if people start obviously cashing out like their staked bags and their large bags and stuff like that. But if everyone understands that mission and gets on the same page of like, stake your tokens and consider that land you're not going to sell, and then you can live off the rewards in the future, those rewards are always going to get re-backed by more PLS.
Right. Wow. That's cool stuff, man. Yeah, look at my rewards. I mean, I've got my little tracker. There's one in this sheet as well, but you know, I know how much I'm garnering every day on average and every month. And I'm like, boy, when this thing 10x's or 100x's, whatever it does, I'm like, that is freedom money, man. And that's just from the reflections from holding, being staked, and being locked.
Yeah,
you know, like I said, it's cash flow, mailbox money every single day. It's awesome.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's like, I go back to it, that's all volume based, and we still haven't even got the peak in volume on Pulse Chain yet.
Like you said,
we're still just playing in a sandbox. Yeah, that's the key ingredient. Like, everyone is
coming.
asking me, like, what's next? And I'm like, the protocol's done. The LP web's built. The next thing we're waiting on is the user increase of Pulse Chain.
Yep.
And once that user increase comes in, we benefit even if no one buys pTGC. Obviously, I believe, and my goal is for people to buy pTGC because as of right now, we're a top performing asset on Pulse Chain. So people are going to look for those kind of things. But let's say they just go into Hex. Let's say they just go into PLS. Let's just say they go into PLSX. That's why I've locked ourselves into all of those tokens. So as people buy and sell those tokens, we obviously tax their volatility and bring that value back to the pTGC community.
That's nuts, dude. This is amazing. Let's get back to that sheet. I love your commentary. I think there's so much value in it. So back to the sheet. Just jump in at any time. Let's not overlook, because I did. Prairie Banana overlooked the burn supply compared to last week. Look, guys, we burned 1.3 billion TGC. And I'm like, is that for reals? Well, I copied it straight out the site. And I did a quick calculator down here. That is 0.44% of the supply, of the circulating supply, not the original beginning supply. So we burned 0.44% of the circulating supply in 7 days. That's lit.
Yeah, so that's from mostly the DAO doing buy and burns. And the cool thing about buy and burns is all that pretty much is it's like I think if you add up that amount of money, that's pretty much $100,000 in 1 week or maybe more than that. But all that is, it's an injection of $100,000 in PLS. And then it's taking that pTGC that it gets from that injection of PLS and sending it to a burn address.
Okay.
So it's pretty much an investor that just put $100,000 into our LP pool and then just got rid of all the tokens they received in existence. Like, it's like if you invested $100,000 and then just ended up with your pTGC tokens and then just sent them to the dead address. Well, all that happened was that PLS just got injected into the LP pools for all the other holders of pTGC and also for our web mechanic. But that person's never or can never cash out that pTGC again.
Right.
Which is really strong. That's ultimately is like our God will. It can't cash out. It's sent to the dead address. So.
Yep. Agreed. Hey, thanks for everybody that's here. Shaka, you're not late, just a little tardy. And it's all right. You can just rewind at the beginning. It's good to have you guys in here. So burn from the site, and that I just copied the percent right off the website. So last week it was 0.0. No. It was 8.73%, and this week it was 9.13% because of this 0.44. How that works, I believe. And then the what I call that. Well, we already went over that. They're circulating supply. Okay, so I'm just going to work from the top down. Circulating supply was reduced from 304 billion down to 302. The estimated burn next 6 months increased from 20.29 to 20.63. And that number is just going to fluctuate weekly, right? Depending on the volume.
Yeah, so this is one thing I think a lot of people overlook on that number is that number is based off of looking at the past of pTGC. Yeah. So it's looking at it doesn't take into consideration a lot that pTGC is increasing in price quite a bit. So as pTGC increases in price, it gets harder to burn the quantity of tokens. And it seems like people are obsessed with the amount of quantity of tokens that we're burning. But I believe the more important metric is the amount of value we're burning. So like, so when I look at that, I pay attention to the dollar amount that what we've burned is worth. And obviously what we're estimating is quite high. But if we keep going up in price like crazy, we're ultimately not going to hit that number most likely because it costs just so much more to buy the pTGC.
Yep.
But we're
Agreed.
still burning the same amount of value. It's just less tokens, obviously. That's just how crypto works when price keeps going up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And the amount held in people's wallets, that's not staked, not locked, just held in people's wallets went up by 0.2% this week. And I think that's just a matter of new people coming in, buy it, and figure out what to do with it. That's just my opinion. And then the estimated tokens burned in the next 6 months, again, straight off the site, decreased, sorry, by just a little bit. Staked only, let's see, was 107,748,000,000 last week. This week it actually reduced a little bit. So, which is, I don't know, this is a little bit of a mind bender. I figured it would increase, but it actually, so somebody must have unstaked quite a bit. And I think there was a day this week, somebody unstaked a big bag or something.
Yeah, that obviously has to be what happened. But that just means that it's probably since we're obviously still going up in price, or we're going up in price, new holders are probably just buying a bag and then not like educating themselves on what you can do with that bag. And then obviously someone who was staked ended up unstaking and possibly cashing out or getting ready to cash out some of their bag. But that kind of shows, I think, as time goes on, there will be buyers that also just don't educate themselves on everything you can do with your pTGC, and they're just getting in because they see people talking about it and they see there's a narrative building behind aliens and stuff like that. So I think it's really important to try to educate those kind of people to show like, hey, you're sitting on this pTGC, you don't need to just hold it, you can stake it, and it's actually just complete self-custody. Like we don't even let your token sit in a smart contract anywhere. We let it sit in your wallet, because frankly, I don't even want to be the person who has your tokens. It's just a chance for, something to get hacked and all those tokens to just get taken from us. It's better that we just let everyone keep them in their own wallet. And obviously it puts a lock on it when you stake, but that lock can be interacted with on my website or on our website or just the blockchain in general if that website ever goes down. So it's, in my opinion, how Richard Hart did it was he made it to where when you stake, the tokens got burnt, and then when you unstake, they get reminted, which is also a really effective way to make sure there's no hacks, because there's actually no tokens in that stake. I went about it a little bit different. Because I wanted people to still get reflection rewards and stuff like that when they're staked. So there had to be a number there of their tokens so they can also get reflection rewards. If that makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. So holding pTGC and not staking it, we can do that. Everybody's, has choice, but there's really no reason to not stake it, because you can probably what you'd garner in rewards for staking it would pay for your 1% fee for withdrawing it in a short period of time. So it's almost like owning a house and not living in it, or putting a tenant in it. Putting a tenant in it is equivalent to staking it, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then I have a question. This is a one-off question, but like we earn reflections just for holding pTGC. So let's say I earn 100 pTGC in reflections just for holding in one day. Do I earn reflections on that 100?
Yeah. So it's the reflection. The cool thing about the reflections is it's auto compounding. So instantly in that transaction, those tokens land just right in your wallet. So automatically when those land in your wallet, you're now making the APR on those tokens that landed there instantly.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
To where with the staked amount, you have to claim it, and then that starts to happen. But yeah, with the reflections, like
Okay.
every single token that lands in there, you're instantly making APR on those tokens or reflections on those tokens.
All right. That's good stuff. Okay, we got a few more blocks here, and then we have 2 tabs, and I'll run through this, and we should be done. All right, then we got our staked and locked was, oh, wait a second. I'm gonna make sure I'm not missing anything here. Staked only. Yeah. This is confusing even for the guy that built it. The forecasted supply went down. That's just because of the price action, I believe, in 6 months. And that's just a forecast, but this staked and locked. Ooh, I've got some issues here. This is not correct. Let's just skip down to total value locked. That's something that probably everybody can relate to a little better. Total value locked went from 7.5 million, 7.4 million to, let's call it 12 million, almost a double in TVL in 1 week. Liquidity pool was reduced from 4.5% to 3.8%. We'll see where it goes next week. Do you have any comments or final thoughts on this section?
Yeah, I was just looking at that total value lock thing. I was wondering if we increased in price 100% this last week. Because we don't have too much more locked. We only have like 200. Okay. So we're up 71% this week.
Yep.
Cool. Yeah. So I guess that makes sense.
We were, oops, something is wrong with my, I'm not the best at, I'm a spreadsheet new guy, but okay. So we're done. I think we're done with supply. Let's move on to prices, volume, and MCAPs. Okay. So the price today, because I just recorded it this morning, is 4087. And I think that's 71% up from last week at 4062. And let's just look at the formula. C8 divided by it's this number divided by that number. So that should be true, 71.26. And the volume last week was 82,000. This week, 145,000. That's a difference of 63,000. Market cap.
Is that the volume it just on today?
Yes. Yep. I just pull all this stuff off the deck screener, Saturday morning.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we should switch that to the 7-day volume if you're doing this every 7 days. Not that you have to go back now, because you're really just pulling the volume just from today or the last 24 hours. And also, just so you know, not that it needs to be adjusted on the spreadsheet, that's just the volume in one pool.
Right.
So
that's why I'm trying to do it.
Which it is a pain in the butt to add up every pool. Maybe eventually I'd like to get something that just adds it up for you. And we get to see it on the website or something like that.
Right. That's why I've been getting the volume from, one pair on deck screener. And the same with the market cap and all that. Well,
the market caps are going to stay. The market caps are going to stay pretty similar, because that's just supply times price.
Yeah. Yes. Yep.
And obviously every LP pool has a different price, but they stay pretty relevant to each other just because of the ARB bots. And that's how those automated market maker bots work. But yeah, the volume is going to be completely random based on how much volatility the sub token we're connected to had in that month or in that week. And then also how much money we have in that LP pool. So a short example of how that really works, I'll use Teddy Bear as an example. When Teddy Bear has tons of volatility, we tax that volatility, because then our pool gets messed up, and then the R bots have to come and tax our pools to get adjusted. And since our teddy bear pool is really, really large, it takes decent amounts of money to then go and fix that price. So if teddy bear had a 10% increase, that would then increase pTGC 10%. And then our other LP pools wouldn't be increased 10% if pTGC actually didn't move up 10%. So then what has to happen is the AMM bots will go into our teddy bear pool and sell pTGC from the teddy bear pool to decrease the price of pTGC. And then they will buy pTGC in our main pool or our sub pools to increase the price of pTGC in their pools until the prices even out. And then when they have to pay our tax twice.
Right. Yeah. Like that. Okay. Yeah, I'll tune that up. I'll find that 7-day volume. I didn't know where to find it, so I didn't even know you could do that, but obviously
I don't use Dex Screener. I use Dex Tools, and I know for a fact with Dex Tools, it's at like bottom left-hand side. If you go to the left side.
Okay, there we are in pTGC. Okay.
And go down, 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 right there, and hit that 7-day button.
Yeah. That gives me 7 days. I'm looking for the volume.
Yeah, scroll down right there. Right there. Oh. Move your mouse down.
Yeah.
Here. Move your mouse down. Down a little more. Down a little bit more. Now go to the right just a little bit. Up a little bit. Right next to that green number. Right next to it.
Okay. Oh. Right there. Oh, brilliant. Perfect. Excellent. Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's going to be much
that
better.
One pool. Yeah, that's just that one pool too.
Okay. Thanks. Then the market cap, I think we covered that. Well, no, we didn't. It went from 18.9 to 26.4, but we did trump teddy bear. So we got like we have a new, what do you call it? Not a new floor, a higher low. We might be in a little bit of a dip like right now, but does anybody that's a true believer really, does it phase us? No. We know where it's heading. Back up.
Yeah,
the liquidity.
The little bits of dips are actually quite nice. Not that no one likes to see the dip, but when price is lower, it just burns more supply. So if you know where pTGC is going, any cheaper price is just more pTGC just getting sucked out of the market and sent to the dead address at the end of the day.
Yep. And we want that supply reduced. Because for anybody that just holds it, as the supply decreases, your position increases because your share of the remaining increases.
Yeah, exactly.
So our liquidity went from 871,000 to 1.1 million. Is that the highest it's been? Has to be. Right?
Yeah. Yeah,
Sweet.
Besides like when our price was up like 2 days ago, but as far as like on the grand scheme of things of like on an average, that's the highest we've been. Yeah.
Number of transactions last week was 458. This week, 357. So we're down 101. Transfers.
That's probably just transactions in the last 24 hours, right?
True. Yep. Now that I know about that 7-day button, man, I'll be using that. Yeah.
Some of the data doesn't populate with that 7-day button. I don't know why. It have to look to see if it gives us transactions for the last 7 days as well. I'd have to look in Dex Screener too, because I would bet Dex Screener has this data as well. A lot of people say they like Dex Screener more. I just started with Dex Tools, and when like you're just familiar with the website, it's hard for you to switch to the other website, like where I'm at with it.
Yeah, for sure. I learned about Dex Tools from Coach. I love it. I really like it, but I do switch to Dex Screener for a few things. The number of transfers went from 71,000 to 160,000. That's more than double. And now transfers, that's just from one wallet to another, correct? No, that couldn't be.
No, yeah, people aren't really sending. People aren't really sending like that. I would have to look into where that is getting pulled from, to be honest with you.
Yeah, okay. Well, it's an interesting metric.
That might be total transactions like ever. I wouldn't think so, though, because it's such a big jump.
Well, yeah, it'd have to be. I think it would be more than, with all the bot activity. And I don't know that the bots are they really transferring? No.
Yeah, they're mainly just buying and selling constantly to even prices out between pools.
The Dow funds went from 42 million to 35 million. So we used some of that for something. I don't know what. And then this is the dividing line between pTGC over here and PLS. PLS pumped up, and this was the amount that it pumped up. And again, the volume, I'll just get that like next month. That'd be cool if there were a monthly. We'll see what I can do. We'll see what I can do for a 30-day tracker for those metrics. But there's your volume, and it, this one didn't make sense to me. It was actually, I looked at it 2-3 times, and I'm like, what? Okay, but I just wrote down exactly what I'm looking at in Dex Screener, and there it is. And then the MCAP and liquidity and transactions, all of these were down, which does not make sense, but it is what it is. So, do you have any comments on this tab before we move on to the 1 million pTGC stake?
Yeah, I don't know why all that's down really quite a bit. Maybe it's just not populating right. That's all I could guess, because that's obviously just a huge decrease.
Yeah, I agree. I think probably the aggregator site was at fault for that. So maybe I can fill that in later today if it's working by then. Okay, so this is our 1 million pTGC stake, and it's also locked for the max, just as an experiment to see how much it garners. And then what a guy can do is plug in his amount down here, and it'll show you exactly how much yours would equivalent to. And then it's even broken down by if you have a 5 to 6 year lock, it's going to show you that. But let's do the 1,000 foot view. We have 2 different trackers. Here is like a running total from the very, very first time I did this until today. And then we have a period total, which is from last Saturday to this Saturday, or this month to next month. And then so this one, we just update the information on. This one, at the end of the week, I'll copy this, paste it down below, and then start fresh based upon, where we're at. So this week, a 1 million pTGC stake and lock would garner 702 for holding, 1,454 for staking, 221 for locking. It wasn't a very great locking week, but the total earned was 2,377, and there's the value, 21 cents, interest, APY, and I like to break it down, tokens per day, dollars per day. And then over here, here's a little, help your decision whether you should recycle or not, because it does cost some money to recycle. So we recycled this morning 2,377, which has a value of 21 cents. And here is the cost to claim it and then restart it. In ETH, it cost 3 cents. So we made 21 cents Cost 3 cents to claim it and then restake it. And then we'll see where it is in a month. You got any comments on all of this, TGC? TGXen,
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. So obviously, like if your bag is a little bit smaller, you probably will want to wait a little bit more in between compounding, just because you're going to pay the same gas price either way for the most part.
Right.
So
Yep.
just anyone listening, keep that in mind. If your bag maybe isn't as large as someone else's, just keep in mind that you're paying the gas either way. So make sure it's profitable. Don't be hitting that claim button 5 times a day, because you'll just be, you know what I mean, losing your value.
I've done that. I've done that. Well, I wasn't necessarily losing money, but maybe I was spending a lot of time doing that. Yeah, there's really no value in compounding more than about weekly unless there's a large influx. And then, yeah, I kind of personally, and there's a little calculator in there that'll kind of illustrate that. But back to this. So your equivalent yield. So you can just see the orange values or whatever yours is. You can fill these in, and the blue is your outputs. And then let's see. We can do a little comparison. So last week the price of Pulse was 0.000128, and it went up to 157 today. And then the TGC price, you can see, increased the value of the principal, therefore increased. The holding yield went up a little bit. Staking yield went up quite a bit. And then the locking yield was less. So there's your total yield at 21 cents. And then I like to look at this. I put this in, which is a price to yield ratio. For some brainstorm idea I had, I don't remember. And here's your interest rate, your APY, tokens per day, dollars per day. Now this, I just put this in this week, and this is a brainstorm idea I do remember, because what we're going to do is every period we're going to see our share of this of the supply increase. And I actually watched it tick up just a little. It went from like 33093 to 94. So it works. Holding your TGXen, not selling. And as that supply reduces, our share of the pool increases. So you can literally go from like a squid to a dolphin. We don't know how long that's going to take. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
Any comments on this?
No, that's good. So I'm looking at your APY number.
Talk to me.
So is that APY on dollar amount you invested based on dollar amount you've received in rewards, or is this number of tokens you invested, number of tokens you've received in rewards?
Tokens. It's I52 is in the formula, which is the total yield.
Okay.
And I use ChatGPT a lot for my formulas, and it is not always perfect.
The reason I'm asking is because I think that's obviously, this is great news if that's the case, that if people are getting 137 APR or APY on a yearly basis, but I just don't know if that's accurate.
Okay. Well, anybody that's watching, let me know. Reach out to me on Twitter, Telegram, and let me know. And otherwise, I will endeavor to fix that APY. I had a hunch that one of these is incorrect, but we'll fix
That's
it. That's
why I was thinking it had something to do with the dollar value, because obviously, like, the cool thing about how pTGC works is, like, today you're receiving the APR at today's price, but like, let's say you put 1,000 pTGC and you are making, let's say within 6 months you made $100 or something like that. Well,
right.
if pTGC's price increases by 10% or 10x in the next 6 months, let's say, well, that $100 you made would actually be $1,000. So basing your APY based on dollar value, you would actually be made 100% APY in value.
Okay. All right. Well, guys, that's the 4 tabs for our tracker. If you have any comments about them, just by all means, let me know. And we'll do this again in a month. I'm not done. I want to review some of these tabs down here. And then next week, we'll have a class for new people coming in. So help me get some people into the class next Saturday. I ain't looking for subscribers, although that's great. Just want to help people get acclimated to the system so they can hit the deck running. But let's.
Sorry, I lost you.
Oh, somebody said the link is not working. Well, I think I can share it. Give me 1 second. Let's not do that. Hold on. I'm going to pull the screen. I got to be careful here, I'm going to post a link to the sheet in the chat. TGXen, do you got to get?
Do I got what? Sorry.
Do you got to get? Because we're just going to run over these final tabs here.
Oh, no, I'm good. I just lost you for a second. I think I got bad service for a quick second or something, but I'll keep listening.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I'm inviting your comments on the other tabs also. So there's a link to that document, this sheet actually. Let's put my screen back up. Looks like we're getting some good feedback about onboarding new people. Thank you, Zabar. Always appreciate your comments. You're always positive. Just bought a little more pTGC. Good deal, man. Wise, very wise indeed. All right, let's go to these. So these are little calculators that you can use for your own investing. And I have made some videos, and some of them have changed. So I'll just re-record the videos later, but this one hasn't changed. This is a freedom number. Plug in whatever your freedom number is, and you can make some changes down here, and it's going to pop in however many X's in crypto you need to achieve to make your freedom number. And all of that's there for you. Just watch the video or read this. And then just for fun is moon math stuff about any token you want, but it's really built around TGC, but you can use any token, whether to unlock or not. I've been, lots of people are wondering whether they should lock. I've been referring a lot of people in the chat to this tab right here. It's so important to approach that, approach locking deliberately and not just lock up. Because to unlock, you pay a 30% penalty. So you really got to think it through. Sleep on it a few nights. You're not going to miss a lot of yield if you take a couple days to think about it. And here are some notes, things to consider.
And you don't have to do your whole bag. That's another important thing that I think people sometimes do is they just go and do their whole bag. Well, then your whole bag's locked. Mm-hmm. So if you need any of that, you have to unlock your whole entire bag. So if you're any bit worried about it, do half your bag. You know what I mean? You don't got to go crazy.
Right. Yep. I went a little crazy. Not totally crazy, but I went a little crazy. And here's I'm for locking. I really am. But here's one reason to leave some of your bag liquid is because we're all going into a bull market, but there's a bear coming. And don't you want to be able to buy the bottom? I mean, assuming that TGC is going to, dip 95%. Well, I'd like to have some liquid that I can take profit at the top and buy back in at the bottom. So that's that. Any comments on that?
No, that's obviously a good strategy for people who are decent at recognizing where those points are in the market.
Yeah. That's the trick.
Some people aren't. Yeah.
Pro Hexer says he locked 20% for 10 years. The rest is staked. I like that. That's good. Yeah, do a portion, do it in ratios, build a ladder, something like that. And here's a reflections tracker that you can track your reflections on. Just a simple one, broken down per day, month, and so on. Token positions. This is handy for any kind of token that you hold that you know the supply of and how much you hold. You can plug it in here and it'll show you your sea creature position. Compounding interest is also valuable for seeing that you don't need to compound more than about once a week because it's not entirely super profitable. Like, look, if you compounded this much once weekly, sorry, I've changed this and it's not working. I'm not able to wrap my head around it in time enough to explain this to you. But basically what I discovered by plugging these numbers in is that you're not going to make much by compounding more than once a week. But the reason I changed this is because I had an idea that if we get a large influx of reflections, we might want to just compound it. And I've been doing that, and I adjusted this to go out a number of years to model that. And it's true. You do make a little bit more for compounding on those high yield days. And I have some of that lined out here. I'll just update the video later on. There's a calculator for dollar cost averaging out, PTC average growth, and a reflections estimator. I don't have a video for this one yet. Reflections estimator, how PTC. Yeah, I'm not going to get into all these other the other tabs because I really haven't. Some of them are under construction, so I just got to record the videos for those. But they're all free. I'll have videos for them. You guys can use them to, for your own investing. But it's mostly centered on TGC, of course. So, well, guys, if you have any last minute questions, throw them in the chat, but we are going to pretty much sign off unless you have any final comments. TGXen?
No, I don't have any more. Do you have any questions or anything when we're talking that maybe you wanted to get a little bit deeper dive on before we go, or you think you pretty much got everything I was talking about? Or
I'm dealing with the chat, working with the chat, listening to you, knowing I'm live, and so I catch like 25% of what you say. I'll just replay it later. But there is one thing that I would like to discuss with you, and that is, I've talked about this in the chat a little bit, but I'm trying to understand. We know as the price goes up, the amount of reflections that we get will go down, right? But is that going to be at a 1-to-1 ratio? Is it going to be like a 1-to-1? Because what I'm getting from people in the chat when I ask this question is that we're still going to be making more yield as the price goes up. So can you
the yield? So like how I look at the rewards and the reflections you're getting is a lot of people tend to look at them in the amount of tokens they're receiving, but you need to look at it in the amount of value those tokens are worth. So the amount of value those tokens are worth based on how much volume we have always. So the more volume we have, the more volume the web is building, the more volume just everyday buyers and sellers are creating. That's what's going to get you your reflections and your rewards. And tokens you receive, the quantity is completely based on price. So as we keep increasing in price, you're obviously going to receive less and less and less tokens, but the value you are receiving is more. If we have a dip in price, during that dip, you're going to be receiving more tokens. Value still the same, just completely based on the amount of dollars that's traded during the day. You're getting your portion of that.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
if you're trying to accumulate more tokens, because obviously there's only so many tokens in existence and ever will be. So that's why I think some people really stick to that. Like, oh, I'm getting this amount of tokens. Oh, I'm getting this amount of tokens. Well, then you're probably kind of hoping for a dip, because when it dips, you're going to receive more tokens.
Right.
As we keep increasing in price, you're going to receive less tokens because the value of those tokens are more.
Right. But is it going to be at like a 1-to-1 ratio? I mean, maybe 1-to-1 ratio is not the best way to put it.
Well, it's completely based on the price of each token. So as the price of each token increases, you get paid that same amount in tokens. So if we 2x from here, let's say we 2x, but our volume stays completely the same, you will receive half the amount of tokens.
Right.
Because the tokens are worth twice as much. So I think the answer is yes, it is 1-to-1, because it's just based on, if we increase 100%, you get 50% less tokens.
Okay. All right.
But the value is still the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. All right. David has a question. When cashing out, is there a liquidity site like 9mm to use? The issue is the 5% tax. I want to use a V3 and sell into the rise through a liquidity pool so to not harm the price.
Yeah. So there, you cannot create a V3 liquidity pool with pTGC because V3 liquidity doesn't allow tax tokens. So if you wanted to cash out via liquidity, you're going to have to just do it with a normal pool, which obviously you can't. You could still get impermanent loss, because I assume David's asking about like how you can just provide the liquidity in one direction and not ever get impermanent loss, which is the benefit of using V3. But the problem is, since V3 is liquidity providing just in specific locations, it doesn't allow you to do that with tax tokens.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like concentrated liquidity providing pretty much is V3. And as of right now with 9mm, I don't know if they're going to ever come out with like a V4 or anything like that, but it doesn't work with tax tokens to do concentrated liquidity providing.
Okay. Yep. These tax tokens are something new to me. And one of the reasons I'd like to have a class is to, help people not make some of the mistakes I've made, like getting into a tax token, then decide I want it over on this wallet and lose 5%. I've done that a couple of times. No, don't do that.
Yeah. Well,
just buy it from the other wallet.
It doesn't apply to all tax tokens. The reason why it applies for pTGC is so most tax tokens, when they make it, they provide that tax to a specific LP pool. And then you don't get taxed when you transfer between wallets. But for pTGC, I didn't want to be tied to just one LP pool. I wanted to ensure that that tax applies to every LP pool that's ever created for the rest of the existence of the protocol. So when you do that, you actually have to make sure that tax is just on every transaction.
Okay. All right, man. Well, there are no further questions. And I think we're going to jump off. You good?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you for having me on.
Hey, you bet, man. Hey, thanks everybody for showing up. And I hope it was some valuable content. And we appreciate you being here. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend. Bye.